Good evening, friends, and thank you for being so patient to allow me to speak as the last speaker of the day. I must commend you for your patience and enthusiasm, and as Steve very rightly said, your dedication to the cause of education. So thank you very much. And I hope I'll be able to say something to you. I'm not speaking about international schools today. As you see, I'm talking about changing paradigms in education in a globalized world. Today, what we see is that every country on this earth is trying to reform its education. There are two reasons for this. The first reason is economic, as we all know. That is, how do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of this new millennium? The second reason is cultural. Every country on this planet is trying to figure out how to educate children so that they have a sense of their cultural identity while being part of the process of globalization. So the question is, how do we square that circle? And the problem with today's education in our country is that it does not equip you with even the basic skills to get a job. Our present system of education was conceived, designed, and structured in the 19th century. It was a very different age. It was conceived in the intellectual culture of the Age of Enlightenment and the economic circumstances of the Industrial Revolution. This was built upon the assumption that real intelligence is deductive in nature. And we must have certain knowledge of the classics. And this we came to recognize as academic ability, or in other words, the IQ of a person. This is deeply ingrained in the gene pool of public education, not only here, but I think all over. So according to our system of education, there are two types of persons: the academic and the non-academic, the smart and the non-smart people. The consequence of that is that many brilliant people think that they're not brilliant because they are being judged against a particular point of view. So on the one hand, there are the intellectual people. On the other hand, there are the economic people. And I feel this model has caused a lot of chaos in the world of education. You see this picture on the slide. This is a lady called Gillian Lynn. Not many people know about her. She went to school in the 1930s. She's an American. And one day, her parents got a note from the school that Gillian has a learning disorder. So what did the parents do? The mother took her to a specialist. She was led into this room and she was made to sit. And the mother went on telling the doctor all the woes that Gillian suffered from. She was fidgety in school. She couldn't concentrate in school. Her homework was late. She could not answer properly in school. And the doctor kept on listening. Finally, when her mother had finished, the doctor got up, went to Gillian, and told her, "Look, Gillian, your mother has told me everything she could about you. But I need to speak to her privately about you. So we're going out, and please wait, we'll be back very soon. So he led.
No, that was somebody else's.
Oh, I thought my time was over.
Not guilty.
Okay, thank you.
You still have 2 minutes according to me.
Sorry for the interruption. So he led Mr. Lin out of the room, and before leaving, he switched on the radio that was sitting on his desk. And they went out and told Mr. Lin, now just wait and watch what happens. And lo and behold, the moment the music started, Gillian was up on her feet and dancing. And the doctor told her mother, Mrs. Lin, Gillian is not sick. Take her to a dance school. And today Gillian says, that's what my mother did. In today's time, in an Indian school, maybe that tier 2 or tier 3 city, if such a thing had happened, the child would have been taken to a doctor. The doctor would have given her some medication to calm down and focus on her studies. Today, our children are living in highly stimulating times. They're besieged by information from all quarters, whether it's the computer, the internet, the phone, the advertising, hoardings, the hundreds of channels of television. And then what do we say? We penalize them for being distracted. And what are they distracted from? They're distracted from the boring stuff that is taught in the school. Can we blame them? I don't think so. Every education system on this earth has a hierarchy of subjects. Right on top are the mathematics and sciences, as was talked about earlier. Then come the languages, then comes humanities, and the arts are right at the bottom. There isn't a single education system all over the world who teaches dancing every day in the school, just as mathematics is taught. Because mathematics is an important subject. But all children tend to dance. They love dancing. We all have bodies. I think we also dance. Even while I'm standing here, these gestures that I'm making, this is all part of dance, our bodily movements. But what happens in our education system? As we educate the children, a time comes when we start educating them from waist upwards. They're educated waist upwards. And then we come to the head. And when we come to the head also, then only on one side of the head is educated. The other side we don't take care of. So that's what happens on this earth. What are we doing? We are anesthetizing our students. We're putting them to sleep, whereas we should be waking them up so that they become aware of what is inside them. A few more minutes. You see, the model of education that we have, as I said earlier, is the model of the days of industrialization. Schools are still organized on factory lines, where children sit in neat rows. The bell is rung. There is compartmentalized subject delivery. There are special facilities for special subjects. There is no intermingling. But why is that? Why is it that we do this? We still educate children according to batches and age groups. Why is there this assumption that, like products, there's nothing else more important than the date of manufacture or the date of best before? That's what we do to our children. I'm sure all of us know of children of same age, but who are intellectually better than others, who can work better in a group, or better in a small group, or some child might be able to work the best individually on his or her own. We talk a great deal about creative thinking now as one of the 21st century skills. But lately a great deal has been said about divergent thinking, which is not the same as creativity. The process of creativity is having original ideas, but what is diversity? It has having lots of ideas, lots of possible answers to the same question. A study on divergent thinking was carried out in America some years ago. And 1,500 subjects were tested for divergent thinking. And the researchers decided that if the child got above a certain percentage, then that child would be labeled as genius. Now, the study was conducted on kindergarten kids who were 5 years old. Do you know how many were in the genius category? 98% were in the genius category. Now, since this was a longitudinal study, again it was repeated 5 years later on the same group of subjects when they were 8 to 10 years old, and then again another 5 years later. But what was found out? That as time progressed, as they were educated, their divergent thinking processes were slowed down. Their divergent thinking deteriorated. This tells us a very interesting story. It shows two things. Number one, that we all have the capacity for divergent thinking. And the second is that with education, it deteriorates. We have to start thinking differently. We have to realize what our human capacity is. Today, our education system has strip-mined us the way we stripped-mined the earth of commodities. And there is a very famous quote from Jonas Salk, and I quote here. He says, if all the insects were to disappear from the earth, within 50 years, all life on this earth would disappear. But if all human beings disappeared from the earth, within 50 years, all forms of life would flourish. And I think he's right. Thank you.